Hey everyone, me again. Something a little different today. Different because this is not something you're going to find on the primary market anymore today. Basically, this is I guess the purpose of the video is just to let people know that this even exists, and also, if you run into one at your local gun show or a gun store in the used section, you'll know what it is and whether or not you actually want one. This is not a very well-known model. There's only like one other video on YouTube that I could find on this specific one. You can look it up if you want to listen to Nut and Fancy talk about it for about half an hour. I'll try to keep it to under 10 because I think it's probably even harder to listen to me for that long. But what this is a Serbian Model 63 tanker. This was imported by Mitchell's in the 90s and 2000s. Yes, that Mitchell's. They're kind of a controversial name in surplus because of their K98 refurbs, but this is not a refurb, this is just an import. The tanker designation, of course, is just marketing hype on the part of Mitchell's, which is pretty typical for them. This is not something that was, surplus that was, issued to actual Serbian tank crews. I think probably one of the last guns I'd want if I had to bail out of a tank is something manually operated like this. So what it really is basically a Yugo Mauser that is extremely short. Let me see if I can get the whole thing into frame. It's about 37 inches long overall, 17-inch barrel, so it's about the size of a Carcano cavalry carbine. These were sold in a variety of calibers such as 308, 30-06, 8mm Mauser, and a couple of others as well. This particular one is a 30-06, and so kind of a fantasy gun, I guess, that they cooked up and thought they could sell. It has all the military features. As you can see, that we have a bayonet lug and a cleaning rod. If we look over here, there's a stripper clip guide. So it's pretty much, in every sense, like a modern-made Mauser. Is sort of something people talk about. Well, why don't they make new replicas? Oh, well, they tried that, and it actually did not prove to be particularly popular. And the reason for that is, mainly economic. So when these were selling new, I think they were about $500, which, we're talking again about the 90s and early 2000s when you can get, like actual military issue Yugo Mausers for, under $200, and even like Russian capture, like German K98s were still significantly less than that at the time. So basically people just kind of figured, well, why bother? Why bother with this kind of fantasy gun when you can get the real deal for a lot less? So they didn't sell very well. They don't make them anymore either, as far as I could tell. I checked the Zastava website, both the English and Serbian versions, because the catalogs are different. They're just not there anymore. I think one, internet source, so, take that for what it's worth, said that these were actually like custom made for Mitchell's. And so once they stopped ordering them, they stopped making them too. So that's about kind of what it is, I suppose. We can go over some of the markings just so you can, help recognize it. So one of the distinctive things about it, of course, is this like really blonde wood. I'm told it's teak. As we can see here, we got a rear sight that's graduated out from 200 to 1400 meters. We have a Serbian crest here, which is kind of neat, but it's, clearly done in a more modern fashion than you see on actual vintage rifles. They do have Mitchell's on there, which I don't care for. I wish they hadn't done that, just so I could entertain the the delusion that this is some kind of military rifle, but it's really not. On the other side here, we have your import mark, your Zastava, 30-06, and your Model 63 designation. All that kind of stuff. We can kind of see nothing terribly interesting or unusual going on the other side. Really kind of high quality gun, like very deeply blued. You can kind of see the underside, what we got going on here. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, as far as like, do I recommend you get one? Kind of depends on what they charge you for. So as I said, these were not popular back in the day, but now that they don't exist anymore, essentially, or they're not being made, not being imported, probably never will be again. The market really shot up. So, I looked on Gunbroker, there was an 8mm version there for like $1,600 or $1,800, which I think is kind of obscene for what it is. I didn't pay nearly that much for this particular one. I bought it at a local gun store, and the guy selling it knew exactly what it was, but he kind of had the same attitude towards it that people had in the 90s and 2000s. Like, why would I buy, this for, some obscene amount of money when you can get the real deal for less. So yeah, that's kind of it. It's a cool gun, shoots well, recoils like, a mule suffering from roid rage. I'll do some shooting footage towards the end there just so you can see it in action. But yeah, I kind of, do you want one, do you not? Really depends on what they're going to be asking you for it. Obviously, there's, nothing to complain about. It's a Yugo Mauser, essentially. This factory's been making them for decades and decades, and it's a quality product. So yeah, that's kind of about all that I have to say about it. Thank you for watching as always, and yeah.